Whenever you tell us, Andreen. We're ready? Wow, okay, well, I'll wait till 6:30. All right, well, welcome everybody to the Thursday, November 20th, Town of Webster Town Board Workshop. Tonight, we have three presentations, and the first one is a presentation by Josh Artuso, the town's Director of Community Development. He's actually going to be presenting on two different items, the Energy Choice Act, and also on a clarification correction relating to the West Webster TAP grant application from a presentation resolution we did 2 weeks ago. So, Josh, I'll hand the baton to you.
Thank you. Well, as you mentioned, at the last town board workshop, I presented 3 quotes for professional surveying and design services relating to our upcoming TAP grant application for design and construction of sidewalks in West Webster. Each firm provided 2 separate quotes that included pricing for basic surveying as well as preliminary design. Now, unfortunately, 2 out of the 3 firms provided a combined total for both services on their preliminary design proposals. And as such, I erroneously reported to the board that the total cost for the recommended firm as being $36,000 for both basic surveying and preliminary design services. So upon contacting them the day after that board meeting to give them authorization to proceed, I was informed that the intent of their proposal was that it was the $36,000 for preliminary design plus the $15,000 for basic surveying services. So I basically misinterpreted their quote, unfortunately. So the recommended firm's total cost, as I mentioned, was intended to be $51,000, which still comes in as the lowest bid out of the 3 by approximately $20,000. So in the spirit of transparency, I wanted to bring this to the board's attention and ask that the original resolution from 2 weeks ago be rescinded and request that a new one is approved for the correct amount of $51,000. Now, since 2 weeks ago, we have learned of some additional information relating to the TAP grant timeline and the application portal, which at the time had not been opened up yet. Just earlier this week, we received notification that the portal is opening up. There's been a total of $97.4 million allocated for this round of the TAP grant, and the awards are going to be a minimum of $500,000 to a maximum of $7 million. So the timeline that they've outlined involves an application pre-review on January 15th. We would then receive some preliminary comments back in early February, and then the final application submission deadline is March 12th, 2026. So now that we have this information, I did reach out to Costitch Engineering earlier today to confirm that they are still able to meet the proposed deadline for the grant, and they assured me that if we get started right away and we keep on the projected schedule, that they would be able to have both the surveying and preliminary design completed and available for inclusion in our final application in early March. So with that, I will turn it over to the board for any questions or comments.
It makes sense. I mean, it's unfortunate, it's very unfortunate, but at least it makes sense, the disparity between the quotes. It's much less disparate now.
Yes, And in hindsight, I regret not confirming or clarifying that with Costitch. The proposal we did receive was a little misleading. It did have some things that led one to believe that it was all-inclusive, but I can also see how it wasn't.
Josh, I just want to thank you for presenting it. We all have missteps, and certainly I'm very appreciative of you bringing this forward to us in this manner.
Thank you.
No, I met with Josh earlier in the week, and I completely understand how you could have missed that. So I appreciate your honesty and your forthrightness bringing it to us. And I have no problem, as I told you that day in your office, I have no problem with rescinding and then voting again on the increased amount at all.
Thank you.
Jenny, anything?
Well, thank you for your time and effort and everything. I'm just hoping that, with everything right now in the government, that we will get the grant, because we're not so sure, right?
Never are.
Okay,
That's the whole point of the grant process.
well, I know.
But you gotta
But-
have some skin in the game to get the grants, and by doing this work, and it's the third try, so there's the furniture strippers is down, there's action across the street, there's movement in the area, there's a desire to, bring this revitalization project to life, and while nothing is a guarantee, it certainly seems like we should have a favorable application, and we'll know in a few months if in fact that's true.
There actually is one guarantee, and that is we'll never get those that we don't apply for.
Touche.
And could you tell us how much would it would cost for us to,
The project
implement the
itself?
process and everything? Yeah, just just for the record.
Sure. Well, part of what the consultant will be tasked with after creating the preliminary design is coming up with preliminary cost estimates. When we applied 2 years ago, we put some conceptual cost estimates together that weren't really based in a high degree of accurate surveying, if you will. And at that time, I believe the project cost was around $5 million. 80% of which would be covered under the grant.
Okay, thank you.
All right, would you want to roll right into your second presentation?
Sure. Okay, this next presentation is about the Energy Choice Act, which you may or may not have heard, but I will elaborate a little bit further in the presentation. So a little background and history. Back in 2019, the New York State Legislature passed the Climate Leadership and Community Protection Act, also known as the CLCP. And what that does is it sets fairly ambitious goals towards economy-wide carbon neutrality for the whole state of New York. Reduction in greenhouse gas emissions statewide, and the goal is a 40% reduction by 2030 and 85% reduction by 2050. And also as a part of that act, it created a Climate Action Council, which was tasked with developing a scoping plan to come up with recommendations to meet the state's goals. So in 2022, that Climate Action Council finalized their scoping plan, which recognized the need for a quote-unquote multi-pronged policy action, including new regulations, to meet these ambitious goals. So as a part of the 2023 state budget, the legislature passed what was called the All-Electric Building Act, which requires all new residential buildings and even some smaller commercial buildings to be powered by electric only. and it is to take effect January 1st, 2026. And what it does is it essentially bans any new connections to natural gas. So earlier this year, there was a coalition of opponents, various builders, developers, trade organizations, that filed a federal lawsuit in an attempt to overturn the law. In August of this year, there was a court ruling that actually was in favor of New York State, and now that decision is being appealed in appeals court. And just last week, the state made an announcement that they would be suspending the implementation of the all-electric mandate until the appeals case is resolved. So what is the Energy Choice Act? Well, Congressman Nick Langworthy from the 23rd Congressional District here in New York introduced a bipartisan bill that prohibits states or local governments from banning an energy services connection, reconnection, modification, installation, or expansion based on the type of source of energy to be delivered. So communities across the state have begun passing local resolutions in support of this national bill. Now, while well-intentioned, there are some reasons to support the Energy Choice Act. Currently, the electrical grid, the condition of it cannot support the additional demand for electricity at this point in time. The all-electric mandate will increase the cost of housing at a time when housing affordability is a major issue for many residents. These all-electric heating systems are on average $7,000 to $10,000 more expensive than traditional gas-powered furnaces, making the cost of new construction significantly higher. It limits personal choice, and especially in our part of the world, natural gas and other forms of energy provide an alternative option for heating and cooking when the electric is out for extended periods of time, whether we have a large snowstorm or a rolling blackout. So the request tonight with that information is seeking the board to support a resolution in support of the Energy Choice Act. Currently, the temporary pause that New York State has indicated would remain in effect for 120 days after the appeals court decision is rendered. So it's currently a temporary reprieve for local builders, but at any point in time, if there is a court ruling that upholds that law, we will be going back to that natural gas ban within 120 days. That's why we're asking the town board to support the national bill that would prohibit it across the nation and would allow consumer choice for their energy providers. So with that, I will certainly be happy to answer any questions you might have or hear any comments.
I'll just comment, Josh, and first of all, I want to thank you for bringing this forward. I am in full support of this, and there's not a builder out there or developer that is in favor of, going all electric. And eventually, it's going to come to individual households are going to have to go all electric. It's
Correct.
anybody that knows the problems we're having with the grid, they're putting the cart in front of the horse. And it's pretty concerning, to put it politely, that they push this legislation through. So anything we can do to support, I am 100% behind it.
Great, thank you.
Jenny?
Well, I know that the governor, she had resent the bills too because of, the situation. She knows that there's a lot of pushback. And as being a realtor myself, I would not, support to go up all the electric either, because I don't know why New York always try to copy California, and we should look in, to it to see all the con that is affecting them right now. We're just using all the electric.
Right.
It cannot accommodate it, and especially in New York, we have snow and everything like that. It's takes a lot out of it. So I thank you, for this, and I'm in favor of supporting it.
Thank you.
Jennifer or Patty?
I have no additional comments. I am also also in favor of supporting the Energy Choice Act.
Yep, I agree. I couldn't imagine not having a gas stove. I've never not had a gas stove. I couldn't imagine not having a gas fireplace. It's just, the
These,
whole thing is just
Right.
unbelievable.
and we all know that the increased cost to the builders is just going to go to the tenants of these buildings,
Of course it is.
Absolutely.
without a doubt.
Plus the fact that it's held up the construction of many of these housing,
Absolutely.
many of the affordable housing developments
Yep.
can't get started because the energy companies are telling them, we don't have enough power on the grid for you.
Well, there's a development in Canandaigua right now.
Right,
They can't bring it online because they don't have the infrastructure for it.
yes. So I think this is a good thing.
Absolutely.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
No, thank you, Josh.
Thanks,
We
Josh.
Thanks, Josh, and we're ahead. So, wow, with this 4 minutes that we're ahead, the next presentation tonight is by Paul Adams, who is the town's Director of Finance, and he is going to present on the financial benefits of the renewable natural gas RNG project. For anybody that's here tonight, we did have a handout that kind of gives the proposed timeline, past, present, and future on this project, so hopefully everybody has that. And I don't know if it got uploaded where people at home can see it on the screen at some point, but if not, we'll make sure to get it up there. So, Paul?
All right, thanks, Tom. All right, tonight we're going to talk about the effect of the Renewable Natural Gas Investment Tax Credit on our current wastewater treatment plant project, which is currently in process. 2 weeks ago, we had Lynn from Witham come in and speak to us. She had completed an engagement for the town and put together a safe harbor memo. And essentially, she was tasked with identifying components of the current project which would qualify for this tax credit. She identified approximately $17 million, but we also would be able to add on the estimated $9 million cost of the RNG piece of it. So she thinks the eligible basis will be between $26.7 million and $33.4 million. The credit is 30%. We do qualify for the enhanced credit. So you come down to a gross credit of 8 to 10 million. But we will be financing this project with municipal bonds, and the IRS requires a 15% haircut on the credit due to municipal financing. So we're looking at credits between 6.8 million and 8.5 million for the project. And Lynn did say that based on the current law, she's certain that the credits are going to be in place for at least 10 years. She thinks we're good as far as the tax law goes. Okay, we'll take a look at the current original wastewater treatment plant project versus an RNG project. The expected project cost for the current project without RNG is $87 million. We did receive a $20 million WIDA grant from New York State. So we're looking at a net borrowing currently of about $67 million. At the maximum ITC credit, we would be able to reduce that by 8.5 million, but of course, it would cost us another 9 million to put in the RNG components. So we're looking at a slightly higher net project cost of about 67.5 million. At the minimum credit, being really conservative, we're looking at a project cost of about 69.2 million. So here's the projected impact on the town financial statements. So I'll read it to you. Below is a comparison of the expected annual cost for the current project versus the RNG project. At the minimum, the maximum ITC credit amounts, at the minimum maximum ITC credit amounts. So the RNG project will result in annual savings of between $353,000 to $428,000 per year. So I took a look at the annual debt service amounts, that's principal and interest. Our original project is going to be about $4,020,000. At the max credit, we're at like $4,048,000. At the minimum credit, we're at like $4,151,000. But one of the advantages of the RNG is that we're going to be able to produce pipeline quality natural gas, which can be sold. And the net revenue from that's going to be about $456,000 per year. So when you couple that with the principal and interest payments, we're actually further ahead at the max credit of about $428,000 a year and $353,000 at the minimum ITC credit. So from a cash flow standpoint, we're ahead. So those annual savings actually have a debt service value. So essentially, based on current borrowing rates, each $1 million of funds borrowed equates to about $60,000 per year in costs and debt service costs. Therefore, the tax savings of $353,000 to $428,000 is equivalent to a reduction in borrowing of about $5.9 million to $7.1 million. This money can go a long way to funding other projects such as the Vosburg Road Pump Station or fulfilling other needs within the sewer system. The savings are substantial. And you may ask, why is it critical to move forward with this now? Because one of the catches to this whole thing is the RNG portion has to be part of the continuous project. So it has to be started before the construction on the current project ends, which is currently scheduled for July, but from what I heard, they may be running out of schedule, so that might be as close as May. So we are up against a bit of a time crunch. So that's just something to keep in mind. So if you have any questions or comments, we can talk about it.
Are the estimated construction costs, are they accurate? Do we have all the numbers? Because when we met the other day, my understanding is we don't have all the numbers yet.
Yeah, we have a $9 million estimate at this point, but that's a very preliminary estimate.
Don't we need to do the
Correct.
engineering to get that?
Well, I need some numbers to make a decision here.
Yeah.
I don't want to see 9 go to 12 or 18.
Mhm.
So, yeah, I do need the numbers. And to your point, we don't have to make this decision tonight. We can push this to January 1st when we have 3 new board members coming in. Let them take a look at spending $10 million, $9 million. And it gives time for Navitas to come up with some more reasonable numbers. Or I shouldn't say reasonable, more accurate numbers.
I guess my question then would be to Bob, and I know Bob's got a presentation as well, but will a month give you an opportunity to come up with perhaps truer numbers, or do we need to do the engineering first?
In order to improve the confidence of the numbers, we would need to go through the engineering effort.
And the full engineering effort is 300,
$348,000. I got, if you want me to jump into the next one, I don't want to jump on Paul's presentation, that's all.
What's the turnaround time on that?
4 months.
Okay.
You're getting your questions ahead of time, Bob. This
I
is-
know,
This
it's-
is the first. We're getting the Q&A before your presentation. It's cool. All works.
So we should probably let Paul wrap up his, if there's any other questions for Paul.
So
Yeah,
I have a question
go ahead.
to Paul. So who are we selling this gas to? And at what rate?
Pardon?
The gas?
Can I, may I give my presentation, then I'll address those questions?
Maybe we roll right into
Or
your
just roll right
presentation,
into that?
because I can
Questions
see
for
where the
both,
questions.
yeah.
then-
And then Paul can stay up there and we can
Yes.
divvy the questions up between the
I
two
think
of
it's a
us.
great
Probably a good
idea.
plan.
Can I
Okay.
just be, this isn't a question, as you roll in, Bob, these are more comments.
Okay.
For Paul's. Paul, you said 5 times during that presentation that Lynn said. That's great. You dealt with Lynn at Witham. I want to make sure everybody understands, Witham is the old Fried Maxick. They are one of the largest and most prestigious accounting firms on tax credits in this. They are a subject matter expert. And I was involved with this, and there was no less than 6 or 7 people on the Witham team. Engineers, tax accountants. Lynn was the lead, but I don't want people to think that Lynn, who was great, she was here 2 weeks ago. This was, and that's why when we did the resolution a few weeks ago, we did no more than $40,000. Witham threw a lot of resources at this. The
Yeah.
town board had the foresight to make sure that we are eligible for all the things that Paul just said in his presentation. And 2 weeks ago, Witham came and showed that we are eligible for that. And there's one other thing I think that is very important to understand. I think I brought it up 2 weeks ago. One of the things I really liked about working with the 6 or 7 engineers, and I can't remember the one gentleman's name that kept pushing us, Paul, and pushing Rick. Why are we only going with this part of the process for this grant credit? You're being too conservative. You could get back into the headworks, and you could get back into some of the other things. And the IRS and the Treasury, it's certainly sustainable that could qualify for this credit too. And we are a conservative town. We're a conservative budgeter. That's how we budgeted. And we decided, and Paul, I applaud you on this. And Rick, I think you were in on this decision too. We don't want to come to the board and to the community and show that $50 million of this project can qualify with the Treasury and IRS in 2 years, and that the credit or the tax refund is going to be $11 million. That's possible, but we would rather show the community and show the board that's voting on this the conservative number of $8 million. If there's a surprise in 2 years, it'll be a pleasant surprise. So I think that's critical in the understanding, and that handout that everybody has also somewhat shows the time sensitivity to this as far as, and Paul, from talking to Bob Wimmer and Rick earlier, I'm not sure where Scuttlebutt got that they're ahead of schedule, but July 1st, Bob, is still where you're at on finishing the current contract.
Yes, we are maintaining our current schedule.
You're up.
Okay.
Can I just say that, just to agree with Tom, the Witham process was very robust. They had many engineers involved, there was a whole team, and they're top-notch. So it was very impressive. They gave us a 14-page safe harbor memo, which explained in detail the steps they went through. And they did say that the basis they come up with was on the conservative side, because they're doing a safe harbor look at
Yes.
this.
Yeah.
So these tax credits, just so we're all on the same page, they're 100% guaranteed, correct?
The tax credits?
Yeah.
As of right now, that is the tax law, but I would say that you can never say it's 100% guaranteed. There's
Okay.
too many variables that
I
can
think if
change.
you read the
All right,
safe
thank
harbor
you very
memo,
much.
and Lynn did, and I'm sure
Appreciate
that
it.
Councilman Kale has read the memo, because
Yeah.
he's always prepared, and I gotta give him credit for that, is that based on the rules of engagement today and the way precedent has been, the big beautiful bill and all this stuff, because there isn't an election until 28 and the timing of this and whatever, there would be something seismic that would have to happen for this not to be in place?
Lynn feels that we're good for the
And
next
you
10
keep saying
years.
Lynn, and I
That's what you said.
appreciate that, because you
With
got a
them.
good relationship with Lynn. I talked to 6 or 7 other people in
Correct.
these meetings that were big wigs at Witham. And not only that, and this is why I still say we have the best finance director in Monroe County, Paul, who is a measure twice, cut once type of guy, and I dig that, he also has gone to Bonadio, which is another big accounting firm that does this work, and we are getting a second look at this.
We are.
Not so much from the safe harbor memo, but because if we move on the RNG, there is probably close to $200,000 to $400,000 of soft costs that go into the accounting work and the tax work, besides the construction, all right? Some of that soft cost is $348,000 of engineering, which on a $9 million estimate is, I don't know, what does that end up being?
4%.
4%, which, you know, okay. I think John, who is more, probably of all the board members, the most astute of this stuff, knows that that number, and Bill Abbott used to say, 10% is what you usually look at. Your presentation will show why it's more like 4%, because you're not, whatever, you'll get into your presentation. But the Bonadio people, when we were on a Zoom meeting with them last week, they said that the Witham Safe Harbor was, I'll use the word pristine. We're talking to Bonadio because if we move forward with this, we're not married to Witham to do the remaining work. We contracted with Witham for the $40,000 safe harbor. Now, there is, like I said, probably somewhere between $200,000 and $400,000 more of soft costs associated with this from accounting firms, either like a Witham or Bonadio. So I think Paul is taking the right approach that we saw Concord, which Bob, you suggested to us, and we talked to Concord. They're a very respected firm that do this. Once we talked to them and we talked to Witham, we decided as a board, let's go with Witham, no reason for Concord to do it, and then have Witham paid to check their work. That seems like a waste of taxpayer money, especially when Witham has a pristine reputation. But now that we're past that, I think you're doing great proactive planning, Paul, to get in with Bonadio, and I appreciate that you let me sit in on those meetings, and Rick sat in on those meetings too, and that Bonadio is basically seconding that, yeah, you guys are set. Now, I appreciate Councilman Cahill's skepticism, but I think in the last 6 years, we've really brought to this town that we bring in subject matter experts to confirm or disaffirm or deny what maybe people who aren't subject matter experts. John's not a subject matter expert on tax law, nor is Ginny, nor am I, nor is Patty, nor is Jennifer. But we are tasked with the stewardship of the town taxpayers' money. I thought it was a wonderful show of how good this town board is to go with the $40,000 to basically find out before we move forward with $350,000 of engineering and $9 million of a RNG product. I thought it was a phenomenal $40,000 spent, and you know what? I would feel that way if she came back, Lynn and her team, and said, you don't qualify. But she didn't. So Bob, I ate up the extra time, now you have the baton.
I know we were ahead for just a second there.
I don't know if you're still ahead,
I
because it's
know.
7:03 and yours starts at 7.
7:10, so we are
Yeah,
ahead.
you're ahead.
Real quick, we're just talking about digester gas and the conversion of that into a value-added product. So it comes from the anaerobic digesters that are already constructed at the facility and currently operating. So they take material, break it down, and turn it into basically methane, natural gas, and carbon dioxide. Right now, as the facility is currently designed and in operation, about 47% of that will go into a boiler. That boiler provides heat to the digester building and to the digesters themselves to maintain the biological process out there. This was one of the savings of the project. This boiler formerly the previous boiler, operated on natural gas, so now it'll operate on digester gas, thereby saving the purchase of that natural gas. Any excess gas is currently sent to a flare, so it is combusted in a safe manner in which to hit the permit compliance. However, there's no financial benefit of of that digester gas. So with that, we spoke previously about taking that digester gas and converting it into what is called RNG, or renewable natural gas. So that is gas of the same quality that comes out of the natural gas pipeline that was just talked about for utilizing it at people's houses or at businesses. So again, this is a 4-month design process in order to come up with the necessary price documents, permit applications, and as you mentioned, Mr. Cahill, the RNG sale proposals for the purchase of that renewable natural gas. The total fee that we're proposing for that is $348,000. There's 5 main components to this engineering and design effort. One is the selection of the technology, the design documents, permitting, the RNG sale, and then and pricing. So I'll go through each of those specific tasks. In terms of the evaluation of technology, there are 2 main types of systems that can be implemented here. There's a membrane and what's called the pressure swing absorption technology. And what we want to do here is make sure that the plant staff has an opportunity to review both of those technologies, since they would be operating the facility going forward, and to evaluate the differences between those 2 systems in terms of the capital expenditure for the system and the operational expenditure. Look at the maintenance requirements, so there's a good idea of how much maintenance time and effort goes into it. Talk to other operators and meet with the vendors of these systems, similar to what we did for all of the other equipment at the facility. That way the plant staff knows what they're getting and is comfortable with the equipment that is going to be installed. The second piece of this is the bulk of the work, and this is the conducting the design. So there is a significant amount of process piping and equipment that must be designed. The site must be laid out with all the components of that. Structural elements of the system, the electrical connection to it, and then finally the connection to the RG&E gas main, which is how this RNG enters the distribution grid and is then purchased from Webster. In terms of permitting application, the nice part about this project is because the facility has just gone through a major permitting process. This would be just a modification to the existing permits that have just been received, and notification to DEC that an additional construction task will occur. The most significant effort will be working with RG&E on what's called an interconnection agreement. So anytime a supplier connects to a distribution system, either the electrical system or the natural gas distribution system, there's an interconnect agreement, and that's basically terms and conditions to allow a facility to inject natural gas into RG&E's system. So it includes monitoring the actual connection point, how the system will operate, a number of items that must be coordinated and taken care of. And then the big one, the value of the gas. So this is a 2-part piece. One is modeling the gas characteristics. So there's different ways to value the gas based on how it's created. So there'll be some modeling that is done. And then soliciting the proposals for the purchase and the offtake agreement for that. For purposes of doing the offtake agreement and the soliciting of the proposals, we have partnered with a local firm here in Monroe County called Rev LNG. So they are very experienced with more than 50 installations, at least 10 to 15 of which are in New York, where they take gas from different digesters, upgrade it to RNG, and then sell it into the pipeline in a variety of different offtake agreements. So they will be leading the effort to solicit the proposals for the sale of the gas. And then finally, the development of the price. So what is the detailed scope, schedule, equipment price that is necessary for the purchase and installation of the equipment, startup, commissioning, and so forth and so on. As part of that, a question that's been asked of me in the past is, will this component have a guarantee that rolls in like the guarantee for the rest of the project? And the answer is yes. There will be a guarantee on the amount of revenue that is generated as part of the project. What that guarantee looks like, that's part of the evaluation, the design, and the solicitation of proposals for the offtake. But once we get all that information together, we can then formulate an amendment to the existing guarantee such that this component of the project will be consistent with the rest of the project, which is able to offset the majority of the cost of the overall project in terms of new revenue, operational savings, and the like. So that's pretty much it, about 4 months to take care of it. And I am happy to answer any questions at this time.
You just answered the question that I had written down about the guarantee, so thank you.
You're welcome.
So I'd just like to know, I got a couple questions.
Yep.
RG&E cannot refuse the connection, yes or no?
RG&E cannot refuse the connection. They can, they get to dictate the terms of the connection in terms of the operating pressure, the quality of the gas, and a requirement for certain monitoring components to monitor the gas. They have provided already the quality of the gas, so they have a published gas specification, and that is what we have done all of our preliminary work on, showing that we can produce a gas of that quality.
I do have another question. It's one I asked early on in the discussion of this, and since Josh's presentation this evening about the possibility of New York still could decide to go all electric, I said, well, what value will the gas have if New York State is going to eliminate gas connections? But I believe I was told that these credits or this gas is sold across state lines?
So this gas is sold in what's called a virtual market. So a buyer of the gas is buying the gas because they want to have some sort of environmental attribute, or they want to purchase gas that is coming from a biological process. So they are buying the gas, and though they themselves are not consuming the molecule of gas that you produce at the facility, because it is being produced, it offsets other gas that would have been injected into the system. So it's what's called a virtual sale. So someone in anywhere that the gas can eventually get, if you trace the pipeline, so anywhere from here to California, anyone in the country can buy the gas from you. And that is why you're getting a value for that gas that is well above the typical commercial value of the gas. So the gas is getting a value anywhere from 2 to 3 times what you're buying for typical gas coming off of the pipeline.
Thank you.
But we're not so, I'm sorry, but
Yes.
but you're not so sure that the buyers are from all over the state.
The buyer can be anywhere in the United States.
I know, but
Yes.
like I said, but we're not like, know for sure, like, you know.
So at
like it's
the-
not the guarantee. Let's say California or Montana or Texas, we don't know, right? So that's a if. We don't
So,
know there's gonna be the buyers for these, if we invest in this kind of money, you know, and more money we're gonna be spending for our taxpayer.
so at the completion of the design, when Navitas would be offering up the price to construct and the offtake purchase agreement, that agreement typically has anywhere from a 10 to 20-year term, and that is negotiable depending on Webster's preference. You can sell it for 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, whatever you wish. It all depends then on the terms of that agreement in terms of the value of the gas. So prior to the commitment to spend the money to put in the equipment, you would have the terms of the contract and a buyer with which to sign that contract to. You would have a time when you would have to put the system into service so that you could buy the gas. So if we had a construction schedule that said it would take 9 months, you would guarantee that within 15 months, you would be able to supply that gas, and then they would agree to buy that gas at a fixed rate for X number of years.
So I know that you haven't done the engineering drawings. And we've been given a price tag of 9 million.
Yes.
To me, I don't know where you got that number. I really don't. And I'm not trying to cast aspersions, but
That's fine.
I'm extremely concerned with the price tag. This project started at like 30 million. We're already up to 67. We're bonded to 85. And I'm not saying this isn't a bad thing. What I'm saying is I'm concerned that the numbers are not accurate for us to make a decision on at this time. And I know it's going to take you some months, but I would be very alarmed if I saw this projection of 9 million all of a sudden go up to 12 or 15 million. I'm very, very concerned about that right now. I really am. And I also think, I really honestly feel that we should not be making this decision with this board because there's going to be 3 new members on this board effective in January. And an expenditure of this significance, in my opinion, we should be waiting for the new people to come on this board, get them up to speed, and get their input. That's where I'm coming from. But I appreciate everything you're doing, and I appreciate your keeping to the schedule to finish in July. This project would push it out, how many more months?
So right now, we're projecting from agreement to implementation about 12 months.
Okay.
So with the current schedule today, we would complete our engineering and pricing in March or April. So then it would go to, let's call it March of '27. So that's an additional 9 months.
What impact, if any, will this have on Fairlife and their project?
This is independent of Fairlife.
Great. I knew that, but I just wanted to get that out there.
Absolutely.
And I'm very happy that Councilman Kale, for the people in attendance tonight, and for anybody watching this live or taped, did a truncated trip down memory lane when he said, and I'm somewhat paraphrasing, he's concerned this project started at 30 million, then 67 million, 85 million. He's not wrong. What was not elaborated on was that over the last 4 years, we have shown unequivocally, irrefutably, that the $30 million project that was going to be an asset renewal, replacing old stuff with new stuff with no cost savings, no revenue potential. And we came in and showed, Paul Adams did, Rick Canale is our chief plant operator, Navitas, we showed certainly the way it got to 85 million is because of Fairlife. Let's just call it
Right.
what it is.
I agree.
But we have shown, this board has been shown, and the community has been shown probably a dozen times that I know it's not intuitive, and I'm an accountant, I'm a math guy, but the $85 million project is costing the taxpayers less than what the $30 million asset renewal project would have cost. Because the $30 million was just replacing old stuff with new stuff that would rot in another 30 years like sewers do. We didn't have Fairlife. When you put in Fairlife, their revenue, upsizing the plant, getting the cost savings, sludge from almost 500 to $1 million, all of that, I think it's important, as long as we have some time here, that Councilman Kale is not wrong. It did go from 30 million to 85. But I want to make sure anybody who's been paying attention to the first 10, 15 chapters of this book, as we're in the next chapter of this book, I think it's important that they understand that this board has been great stewards including past board members of Bill Abbott and Barry Dean on this, who saw and who took the risk of stepping outside of the way traditional projects are done, Wick's Law, low bid, to open their mind to energy performance contracts. That some of the board members, when we first presented it back in 2022, said, no, don't want to see that. That's not how it's done. And we implored those board members, you really need to take a look at this. This is a representative republic. 45,000 people voted you in to take a look and not just close your mind to options. And when they did take a look at the pros of energy performance contract, all of these votes have passed 5-0 over the last 4 years. And that's not because I'm a magician as far as how to get people to vote, because it made sense. As we move forward tonight to doing a resolution with this configuration of board, and I respect and understand what Councilman Cahill is saying about the next board, and I have been very vocal about being mindful of the next board. I've written articles about it. I think my actions have matched my words about being mindful to the next board. This is not melodramatic. We have one chance to make good on this one. If we do move it to the next board, which on the surface you're like, well, that makes sense. Let 3 out of the 5 new board members, who, by the way, in January will have a fire hose of things coming at them. I don't know when they would have the time to be ready to vote on this intelligently. But with 4 months to engineer, and I know that Navitas is doing us a solid to fast track that engineer, I want to make sure everybody understands that if we do kick this to January, in my mind, that is tantamount to we have ended this. We spent the 40 grand, we got the answer, I get it, we kicked it to because there's only 4 board meetings in January and February. And if you want me to do the calendar of those, okay, if you don't approve this and vote on it by February 20th, with 4 months to go, you're coming right up against July 1st. So they'd have to finish that engineering in 4 months, and you'd come to a board meeting, best case scenario sometime in late June, and in that late June, I mean, we'd have to go along with, hey, we're not holding up the $85 million contract. We'd be, I would hope you guys would be, I hope it's the governance, you would be pushing them to finish. And if they finish, and then the board gets up to snuff, the 3 new board members, and they say, this is a good idea. Now that we understand it, we want to do it, the time has passed. So much of the credit is based on I think 2/3 of the basis of the credit is based on work already being done. The board needs to understand that. The community needs to understand that.
I don't agree.
If you table it and
I
you
don't
kick it down the
agree that
road, it's
tabling it-
tantamount to ending this project, in my opinion.
I don't agree, and I agree with Councilman Cahill that it's important when you're spending $10 million for the new board members to be able to weigh in on it. And we did have the conversation with Paul and with Rick, who felt that if we made the decision in January or beginning of February, we would still be within the time frame to make this a viable project. I think it is a great project. I am equally concerned because there've been a number of projects that have come before this board that were one number and turned out to be exponentially higher, and those are unpleasant surprises. And I don't know to the degree of which, without doing a full $350,000 of engineering, you can sharpen your pencil or do a sensitivity analysis, Paul, Bob, on the different scenarios or different possible outcomes based on different costs. I would like to see that before making a decision, and I would like the new board members to weigh in on this project. On the surface, it's like it's like you're describing, Tom. You had a $30 million project and it became a $60 million project, but oh, by the way, Fairlife paid for $20 million of it, and we had a $20 million grant. So we paid less, and we have this great project. This one on the surface appears to be the same thing. You're basically paying $200,000 or $500,000, if I'm reading this correctly, for a $9 million project
Correct.
after the credit. So yes,
And then
it
a
does,
$500,000 revenue producer. a year.
and you have the revenue,
Yeah.
yes. Yep.
I just want to make sure
I
that everybody
appreciate-
understands. and
I
we're
appreciate
gonna-
where you're coming from,
Yep.
Tom, and you make some valid points. I just respectfully have to disagree with you.
It's fine,
just-
and I'll tell you this,
And the
I
other
want to make
question-
sure Jennifer and everybody understands, the new board, they will ultimately decide on the 9 million, 10 million.
I
whatever.
wanna
want to make
dis-
sure that's
yes.
clear. This
Correct.
board, I mean,
Correct.
I am kicking everything to the new board, but within reason. We talked about 2 weeks ago, hey, fine, don't do 799 Holt Road until the new board. I get it. Guess what? This board went with $400,000 to MRB of Engineering Vosburg, which might end up being $7 million. When they come in and show us in 2 weeks what Vosburg is, I want this board to understand. They approved $400,000 for the engineering of Vosburg back 7, 8 months ago. This board. When they come in on Friday, or Thursday the 4th, or Thursday the 18th, and they say, hey, here's what we estimate it's gonna cost. You know what board is gonna decide it and chime in on whether they pay the 7 million, or 8 million, or 9 million, or whatever? It'll be next year's board. To your point, Jennifer, and it's semantics. You said, I think the next board should have a say on that 10 million. I totally agree with you. They will ultimately make the decision on the 9 or 10 million. But I'm saying, if this board doesn't approve the $348,000 of engineering and design, we will probably not be in a position, because of the time sensitivity, for the next board to make that decision. And I can't stress this enough. If there's 100 things that I have put together for the transition for the new supervisor, I looked at him and I said, there's really only about 3 that have effects that will affect the community today and for the next 20 years, both tangibly and intangibly. Believe me when I tell you, if this board with Barry Dean and Bill Abbott and this configuration of 7 or 5 and us did not go with an energy performance contract and went with the gut feel of Wick's Law, 30 million, engineer it, go out for low bid, Fairlife is not in this town. That is a fact. That is not my opinion. That is a fact.
I agree.
So, this board, everything you're saying, we can agree to disagree. I just want to make sure you all understand
We do.
that if we don't approve this tonight, it is tantamount to, we are done with this project.
That part I don't agree with.
I
I
don't
agree
agree
with
with it
everything
either.
you say up till that point.
I don't agree with that either.
Okay, well, I hope you're right.
I,
I hope you're right. So, I'll tell you what, I think Bob and Paul and Rick, unless I'm missing something, we are done with the workshop.
Unless there's any other questions.
We'll stick around, there might be when we get to that resolution.
Happy to stick around.
All right, thanks. All right, that concludes tonight's workshop. We'll take a 5-minute break, turn the cameras off, and we'll be right back.